Hi, and welcome to another edition of Seniors Today. I'm your host, Tom Bartee, and our guest today is Mr. Steve Mortara, and a local Vallejoan, born and raised, I guess, right?
Born and raised.
And he's also the MC of this year's and the previous 7 years of the Vallejo Sports Hall of Fame. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, it's great having you here. You know, the last time we talked about some of the old days in Vallejo and how the kids used to get in trouble and get out of trouble, and that was pretty interesting. But today, a few weeks out, the Vallejo Sports Hall of Fame will be held. What day is that again?
March 10th, Dan Foley Park and Cultural Center.
Okay.
Doors open at 3 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
Dinner's served at 5. And I go on stage about 6:20, 6:30.
Okay.
Then we introduce and induct our nominees to become members of the Vallejo Sports Hall of Fame.
So I know you've been with it 7+ years. How many years has the Sports Hall of Fame been?
This is our 15th.
15th year.
And I took over in 2012, so this is my 7th year.
Uh-huh.
And they had numerous MCs. They had Martin Wyatt, and they had the Rise guys, one of Don Gleason's son who's in radio, Cheryl Hurd, Bianca Knowles, Diabatis did it one year, and Mr. C from Heaven did it, who did a imitation of Muhammad Ali. And they called me up in 2012 and asked if I'd be interested. And I knew the crowds were a little dwindling a little bit, and I said yes. And because I'm in it, and my brother's in it, my father's in it, so I knew the people, I knew the athletes, and I knew the mechanics of the Hall of Fame. So I said yes. And I've been there ever since.
Well, probably another reason why people like you being the MC is because of your background in sports, and it starts with your family, with the golf course that was here in town, and then your experience with the Raiders. Maybe you could just briefly touch on that.
Well, my dad came to town in 1937 and moved the golf course from Orphans Hill out to Blue Rock Springs. They built another 9 to make it 18 holes. And then in 1952, he started construction of the Lake Chabot course. And in 54, they built another 9 holes, so they had an 18-hole facility there. And in 1972, he began construction of the racetrack golf course, and that was finished in 74, which they named after him. And so, our family goes way back in sports, and my dad and my brother. And I've done numerous events for the Raiders, probably over 20 alumni events. And I also did the Commitment to Excellence Award dinner, coat and tie dinner at the Oakland Hilton, for the player that was named by the Raiders. It exemplified the fighting spirit of the Raiders, and which is a packed room with all the Raider executives and the Raiderettes and a whole lot of people in that community that sponsor the Raiders, and that's been a lot of fun. So I taught at Amador Valley High School in Pleasanton. I did a whole lot of stuff for them too in San Jose State. So when they asked me to do this, I thought it'd be fun because it's about sports.
Uh-huh.
And it can't be that tough, so it's fun talking about sports. Plus, a lot of the people that I nominated that got in are guys that I knew since 4th and 5th grade, growing up in the GVRD, playing in all the sports programs, and who became Vallejo Sports Hall of Famers, then became coaches and people in the community. And so I knew the people, and I knew the city, and I know sports, and I've had experience doing banquets and activities with sports. So I said yes, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, I don't know how educated our audience is about the sports in Vallejo, but Vallejo has a rich sports history going way back. I don't know that much, but people like Dick Bass and that era, and C.C. Sabathia and Jeff Gordon and Natalie Coughlin, and there's probably a ton of others that I don't know. But sports has been a consistent theme in the history of our city, and it's great that we can honor people like you do in the banquet every year.
Right, and one of the goals and objectives for the Vallejo Sports Hall of Fame is to present the rich sports history of Vallejo and preserve it for all time, and we've done that. We're continuing to do that. And when I first took over the Hall of Fame, it was just kind of bland, and we knew that, and we worked hard. Everyone worked hard together. There's a lot of tugging. There's a lot of pushing and pulling. I wasn't on everyone's Christmas list at the end of the year, but we made a whole lot of changes for the better, because any time you do something like that, it's got to become an event. You got to be special. You got to do things that are different. And I went to a particular Hall of Fame 2 weeks ago. It didn't even quite measure up to us. And granted, that was their 5th, and this is our 15th, but we made a lot of changes. We put in a red carpet as you come in. We dim the lights. When I'm on stage, they have a spotlight right on me. When I'm talking, I'm actually talking to the light, because I can't really see the people, you know. And we have a walk-up song for everybody who's nominated. They pick out a song that they like, and they walk up to it. And then while they're, I do a voiceover now for each entity. So if your name is called, then it goes on the video screen, and then my voice, while people are looking at the screen, my voice has been done over, so their bio is, they can hear that and watch the pictures on the screen.
Oh.
And then we give them an award on the left side of the stage, pictures taken, and they come up and give their speech, and they walk off. And when they're walking to their particular table, I do what you call a throwback. So I will get somebody like a Mike Kolar, and I'll do 5 to 6 bullet points on Mike and introduce him. He stands up. We have a searchlight. The searchlight goes on to Mike. And when he sits down, I'm ready to do the next Hall of Famer. So I'll go, your next inductee from the class of 2018, entering the Vallejo Sports Hall of Fame is Shimon Warren Mcgraw. And then we start the process all over again. And it takes a while, but everybody's different. Everyone has a different bio. Everyone has a different song. Everyone talks differently. Everyone who does an acceptance speech is different than everybody else. So it keeps it going. And we've created an event, and we've done real well the last several years.
Well, Mike Kohler, the one name you mentioned, he's been involved with the Police Activities League for many, many years. Is that how he was connected to the, or was he an athlete?
Well, yeah, he's served in that capacity since 1982. He helped bring soccer to Vallejo, and the PAL now has judo and boxing, and it has track and field events, and he's done a lot with that. And he's won several awards doing that. And so Mike is on the committee who nominates Hall of Famers, and he votes, and he's there every year. And he's still the head of the PAL as we speak right now.
So the sponsor for the Hall of Fame, is that GVRD?
The Greater Vallejo Recreation District sponsors the event, yeah.
So people that are interested maybe in getting tickets, or you brought with you a book today that outlines everything that you need to know to nominate somebody and all the other information about the event.
Yeah, can I hold this up right now?
Sure.
Yeah, this pamphlet here, you can buy it at the GVRD for $1. And it's a nice book, and everything's condensed, how you nominate someone for the Hall of Fame, what the requirements are, whether it's a coach, a team, a special achiever, historical achiever. And you can buy these right at the GVRD office at 395 Amador Street. You can also turn to gvrd.org, or you can call 648-4600. They have information there. And this thoroughly tells everybody what they have to do, because some people, you know, they ask questions. They go down to the Historical Museum where we have our memorabilia, and they'll ask Mary, well, how do you nominate somebody? What are the requirements? When is it? Where is it? What time of year is it? And it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And it's a great event, but some people don't know all the requirements. And we have a committee.
So they can get the book at GVRD.
Oh, yeah, get the book at GVRD. It tells who's on the committee, how they vote, the requirements, and it answers all your questions.
Well, where do you sell tickets for the event?
Well, at the GVRD.
Okay.
Yeah, you can walk right to the head office there, right by the tennis courts on Amador Street and the Little League field there, Vallejo Little League. And they sell them right there in the main office as you walk in, right at the main counter.
So the event is on a weekend night?
Saturday night.
Saturday night,
Right.
March.
Yeah, the doors open at 3 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And dinner served at 5.
Yeah.
And I'd go on stage between 6:15, 6:30.
Yeah.
And I'd gallop into the sunset till everyone's inducted into the Vallejo Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's cool. So you also have different categories of nominees, right?
Right. You have the athletes, you have special achievers, you have coaches, and all of them have different requirements to get in, and teams too. This year's team is the 2007-2008 girls basketball team from St. Patrick's, who are California state champions,
Wow.
coached by Dr. Rod Fawcett. They're going in. And every year we have one or two teams. And then the athletes, the special achievers, historical achievers.
So the historical or special achievers, can that be athletes, coaches, and
Right.
et cetera? It can be anybody?
Right, exactly. And that's how they're nominated. And sometimes they get shuffled into different categories per se, and they're all voted on. And sometimes they have to vote a couple times. But the committee does the best they can to get this thing right.
So does it have to be 5 years after they've retired from sports or
Yeah,
coaching or something like that?
Right. Usually you have to be born and raised in Vallejo and out of high school for 5 years. And case in point, when we inducted C.C. Sabathia, well, he was still pitching for Cleveland, Cy Young Award winner. And C.J. Anderson just scored the winning touchdown against Carolina in Super Bowl 50 at Levi Stadium down in Santa Clara.
Yeah.
So he was still playing. Guys posthumously like Dante Mignani, who won a world championship with George Halas and Chicago Bears. He had passed. Tug McGraw's in this, and his brother Hank. And Tug won a World Series with the Miracle Mets and the Philadelphia Whiz Kids in '80. Struck out Willie Wilson to end it in 1980. And,
I think I remember that too.
Right?
I hate to admit it.
Yeah.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bobby Brooks 2 years ago got in with C.J. Anderson. Bobby played with the Raiders and the Cole Centurions in Europe. Mm-hmm. And so there's different types of people, different sports, different backgrounds, different award winners. It just goes on, and every year is different.
Did you ever have anybody from golf, from Vallejo?
Well, yeah. My father, Joe Mortara Sr., and my brother, Joe Mortara Jr.,
Oh, okay.
and myself, we all went in the 206 class all together.
2006?
Yeah. We all went in together.
It was a family affair.
Family affair, yeah. And my dad had passed away, but my brother and I were there, and we filled up, I think, 5 tables of people.
Uh-huh.
And it was a fun night, a great night. My mom was there to see it, my sister, and it was a lot of fun. And the thing is, when you go into this, you're entering a new fraternity. You make a lot of friends. So case in point, Tom Wyertz went in 215, and Ed Sowash from that great Dick Bass team, he went in 213. So it's not when you go in. It's when you get in. You're in. That's it. No one counts. No one says, oh, well, he got in the second. He got in the... No, it's not like that. When you're in, you're in. And it's fun to see guys 10 years apart talking about how it was when they were playing and comparing guys that they played against. It's a lot of fun. And now every year, guys come back and they even make little comments to me. Hey, Steve, you think I can get in the throwback section this year? Because as it's going on, there's more people, so obviously your chances are a little slimmer, but I try to rotate it.
Yeah.
And this is my 7th year, and I've done quite a few of them. No matter what athletes tell you, and I learned this about the Raiders, because I've done a lot of events with the Oakland Raiders, and I know those guys by first name basis, is that they like to be recognized. They're not going to particularly tell you that, but that's the fact.
Yeah.
And it's just fun, because a lot of times in sports, you play, you're done, it's over, and people kind of forget about you.
You fade away.
You fade away, yeah. And when you reintroduce them, and one time I did a thing for the Raiders, and Gerald Irons was there, played linebacker for the Raiders in the great 70s. And I introduced him, and I said he could play today. He would have played today. And they like being introduced, and they have a lot of fun with it.
Well, I think I remember that some guy named Bartee was a cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs. But
I think you're right.
yeah,
Was that you?
no,
Okay.
no. I was wishing it was.
Yeah, I'd have you sign a flat object.
Yeah, I'd probably do that. And then a lady in town, Sandy Hager, I think her husband was, I'll forget it. But there's so many different people in the area that are a part of this legacy and history. It's pretty amazing. I think Hank Mcgraw still lives up right off Silverado Trail.
Yeah, I inducted Hank in 212, my first year.
Oh,
with
yeah?
Terry Steinbach. And ironically, I was the water boy at St. Vincent's, 58, 59, 60, 61, and 62. And I got out of high school in 67 at St. Vincent's. But by doing that, I got to meet all those guys as a young kid, because my sister Carol got out of St. Vincent's in 62. My brother Joey got out in 59. And it was a treat for me to know that whole era of people and the athletes, and to watch them actually play. And I've always said that Hank Mcgraw could have gone from the campus of St. Vincent's High School and backed up Tom Flores and the Raiders. That's how good Hank was.
Yeah.
Hank had 50 college football scholarships out of high school.
Wow.
He had 2 college basketball scholarships. And he could throw the ball 75 yards. I've seen him do it. He can wind up and throw the ball almost the length of a field. And he had that natural body. He was a big swimmer, and he was strong and great lower body, and he played free safety on that team in 61 that went 9-0 and undefeated.
Is that the one that Osby was on?
No, Osby was on the 63 baseball team
Oh.
that was #1 in Northern California. Gary Inserti was a starting pitcher with Baker and Johnson, and Brent Higgins, a guy that I played Little League Baseball with, was one of the pitchers. They had 4 good pitchers, Bobby Parishon, Badrati. They were loaded. That was a great team. I would get on my bicycle after school from St. Basil's and ride all the way to Wilson Park just to watch them play. And when they made their mark is when they won the Easter tournament in San Francisco. And they beat some really good teams there. And then that propelled them to be #1 in Northern California. And that Legion team, they got together after high school and played for 104. And that Legion team lost in the finals that year. They almost pulled a double, winning in high school and Legion. But they were loaded. They had some outstanding ball players in that team.
So do you take a picture of each of these awardees?
Yeah, I call them up. I'll say, like, this year, your next inductee from the class of 2018 entering the Vallejo Sports Hall of Fame is. Then they walk off to the side, and they come up on stage, and I have their plaque waiting for them. And then myself and the hostess get right next to them, and then there's a photographer that takes a picture of every single inductee.
How do you choose the hostess?
Well, I let GVRD do that.
Hmm.
You know, I was pushing for a couple Raiderettes, but that's okay. That's one less thing I had to do. So they get a good gal each year that's worked for the GVRD.
Yeah.
And they do a good job. And I show them how to do it for a day or two, and they just step right in and do it. They do a good job. And they make it easier for me because they can escort them up to the podium, and I go ahead of them. So I get there about 5 seconds before they do, and I get all the paperwork done. I get the little thing that holds their paper ready to go and the microphone ready. A couple times we've had accidents where somebody drops the mic or knocks over the podium, so we eliminate all that drama just with the hostess. And she helps them get up, walk the steps. Some guys are...
Yeah, kind of guide people around.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Do you think it's possible that there might ever be a philanthropist that might give the money for a physical Hall of Fame, a building that would have pictures and other kinds of memorabilia and stuff like that?
Well, that would be great. I mean, the Vallejo Naval Museum downtown houses the memorabilia. It's not a big room, but they've accommodated the GVRD for that. And there's pictures and jerseys and memorabilia down there. It would be great if someone could house it 5 times as big and have our own situation with the room or a building. But that's a lot of money, and that takes time.
Well, you think about it, CC has his foundation, and Tug McGraw's son, Tim McGraw, is a very generous man. And you kind of go through all the lists of people who have been very successful in sports, and if you were to be able to get everybody together, you might be able to put some funds together for something like that.
Well, you're right
I'd
about
be willing
that.
to help with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. It would be a big plus if we could. I don't know who would do that or who would push it, but it could be really done well with the proper color scheme and the dimensions of the building, and I'm sure architects in town could help out. And
Have it the shape of a giant golf ball.
a giant golf ball. Well, I
You
don't know
can see it
about
from
that.
miles away.
Or a giant helmet. You know?
Yeah.
We get a replica of CJ's helmet from the Super Bowl 50. He gave us a helmet from Super Bowl 50 when he scored the winning touchdown.
Yeah.
Luke Kuechly hit him and he spun around and fell right on his stomach for the winning score. And I said to him, I said, how did you take that hit from behind like that? He says, Steve, you got it wrong. I hit him.
Yeah,
And
he did.
He did.
I saw that touchdown.
Yeah, he hit him.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, so we have that helmet from Super Bowl 50. He dedicated it to us.
Wow,
Yeah, so that was really great.
that's pretty cool.
Yes, it is.
So how many nominees do you have this year?
We have 13 this year, and up until this year, we have 197 entities that have been inducted.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had 13 this year, and it's a combination of lifetime achievers, and a team, and a coach, and 9 athletes, and it changes every year a little bit, and the type of people change a little bit, and the ability of speakers changes a little bit. It always, every year is different.
Well, maybe if they had a Lifetime Underachievement Award, maybe I might be a nominee.
You don't want to be, how could I introduce you? We couldn't do that.
Lifetime Loser.
No. Everybody's a winner.
Well, you know, you think about sports as a kid growing up, and I remember the day that the coach said, okay, Tom, you're going to be the catcher. I go, oh, yeah, that sounds great. And he goes, go in my car and put on this cup. I go, what? You've got to be kidding me. And, you know, just weird stuff like that I remember. I remember also a lot of the coaches, their kids were always the pitcher or the first baseman.
Well, of course.
Yeah, so I was always out in the outfield, and I was a great hitter, you know, but, you know, it's just funny how it worked out when you were a kid growing up.
Well, you know, the GVRD is responsible for a lot of people's development in the city for sports. And it's 4th and 5th grade that Liston Johnson would come by in his old jalopy and hand out applications to field a team, whether it's football, basketball, or baseball. And that way you put teams together and you competed against other schools. And that started developing people, and people got to know the other athletes in town, and the parents saw the kids who can play, and it was a lot of fun. And then during the summertime, you had the GVRD, like at Federal Terrace or at Cooper School or Highland School and Washington Playground. And that's where everybody started. And over time, everybody knew who could play, everybody knew who couldn't play, everybody knew what you could do, every people knew what you couldn't do. And a lot of guys I saw from 4th and 5th grade go on to be, you know, Major League Baseball players like Tug McGraw. Mm-hmm. And, you know, All-Pro Mike Merriweather went to Vallejo High School, graduated in '78 and went to UOP. And Hank McGraw, one of the great athletes of all time, and then Dick Bass, 10 years with the Rams. It all started with the GVRD and those youth group programs and those sports and people who were interested in kids that gave them a shot. And during those days, I mean, sports was just really popular, especially after World War II. It's baseball-centric, and you had some great, great baseball teams. Like we talked about earlier, that 1963 team was just an outstanding baseball team. You had 4 or 5 guys who signed. And, you know, Roy Riss signed with the Cubs, and Gary Inserti signed. And they were really, really good. They were better than advertised. And that was Norm Tanner, who's in the Vallejo Sports Hall of Fame. That was his first year of coaching. So his goal was, I got all this talent, I don't want to mess it up. And he didn't mess it up.
So your event again is March
10th.
March 10th at Dan Foley.
Dan Foley Park and Recreational Center.
And it starts at 3 o'clock.
The doors open at 3 o'clock. Dinner served at 5. And the award ceremony starts around 6:15, 6:30.
I've heard, too, historically the dinner's pretty good, too.
Food is really good.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we do at our event. Food is good. Because anytime you charge people and they're going to come eat, and you do that, the food has to be good. And the event has to be a true event. And ours has become that. Didn't happen overnight, but we have it now.
And anybody that wants tickets Can get them at GVRD,
GVRD main desk right in the front.
and that's GVR. Their website is gvrd.org.
.org, right? And
And
phone number is 707-648-4600.
All right, we're on a roll here.
And it's 2.5 weeks away.
Yeah, and you know, we will make sure that we get the word out, and hoping for a big audience. I guess last year you had 500, maybe
Well, it's 400 plus.
400 plus.
Yeah, and sometimes when I look out there, when I can see, it goes all the way to the back of the room.
Yeah,
And it's come a long, long way. And again, we've made it an event. We've done a lot of things with music and lighting and the red carpet and the throwbacks. We also do a section called the Deceased Champions, which are people that have passed away, that blazed the trail in sports in Vallejo. There's a ton of those guys, like my father and Dick Biama and Stan McWilliams. It just goes on and on and on. And Dante Mignani playing with the Bears, and Tug Mcgraw when he was playing. And we do that segment too, just like they do with the Oscars. So you have your dinner, you have your introduction, you have your deceased champions, then you have your inductees, throwbacks, and it's a good format. It's a lot of fun, and people that have not been there yet would have a great time at it. And again, you meet a lot of people, you can make new friends, and it's a lot of fun. It's a fun evening, and the evening doesn't drag on. You're out of there by 9-something.
cool.
Yeah, so it doesn't drag to 11 or 12. You're out of there fairly early.
Well, I know that's important for me. But anyway, I think maybe next year I'll try to apply for the hula hoop award.
Yeah,
Hula hoop championship.
I'll come up with a great bio for you and introduce you, and we'll have you do the hula hoop too if you do make it.
I'm in trouble now.
We'll put the twist on with Chubby Checker, and you can do the hula hoop.
Okay. Well, we've about run out of time, and I'm sorry for that, but I know we'll have you on the show again.
Well, thanks for having me. This is my second time. This is fun.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you being here, and I encourage everybody that's watching the show to take the time to attend the banquet. I think it'll be time well spent. And again, thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. So that's all the time we have for today. Our show airs at 6 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays on Comcast 27, AT&T UVerse 99, and streaming live video at vcat.tv. Come see us again next time.